Yes, a very good afternoon to all of you. So, all of you preparing all fine now, all busy preparing for the exams. And I hope that you've also already seen the 10 series for the MCQ discussion before coming to this 11th series for the discussion over here. Right, so in this particular series, we will be discussing the multiple choice questions which have come in the RTP November 2020. Okay, right. So let's begin with looking into the multiple choice questions. So first, they have given the two integrated case scenarios over there based on which the five questions have been asked. And after that, we have two more questions over there. YS and Associates, a firm of chartered accountants having CAY and CAS as partners, is based at Mumbai. YS and Associates get their website developed as www.ysassociates.com. Right, so website guidelines given under clause 6 part 1 first schedule. It just clicks to our mind, when we read this. From KPY Limited. They got their website developed from KPY Limited. So that doesn't matter from whom you get your website created. The color of their website was very bright, very good, and attractive to run on a push technology. Right, so should the website run on the push technology or should it be on the pull technology? Right, so website should not be run on the push mode, where rather it should be on the pull mode. Okay, names of the partners of the firm and the major partners were also displayed on the website without any disclosure obligation from any regulator. Right, so name of clients and fees charged can be given on the website only if it is required by a regulator, whether in India or outside India, and the disclosures are allowed only to the extent of the requirement of the regulator. Those are the provisions under the website guidelines. And here what they are saying, without any disclosure obligation from any regulator. Okay, right, so that's the first situation. CAY accepted his appointment as tax auditor of a firm under section 44AB of the Income Tax Act and commenced the tax audit within 2 days of appointment, since the client was in a hurry to file the return of income before the due date. After commencing the audit, CAY realized his mistake of accepting this tax audit without sending any communication to the previous tax auditor. Right, so they've literally copied down one case study over there, which we study under clause 8 part 1 first schedule, NOC, without sending any communication to the previous tax auditor. In order to rectify his mistake, before signing the tax audit report, he sent a registered post to the previous auditor and obtained the postal acknowledgement. So it is not okay if he sends it before signing the tax audit report. It is required to be sent before accepting the audit and then wait for a reasonable time. Right, so in that case, seems to, it is guilty of professional misconduct under 811. Okay, S, provides management consultancy and other services to his clients. So management consultancy, other services, now they've gone to 224. And other services includes the management consultancy and other services. Right, so during 2009, looking to the growing needs of his client to invest in the stock market, he also advised them on portfolio management services, whereby he managed the portfolio of some of his clients. Now we specifically study in the list of management consultancy services over there that broking, underwriting, portfolio management services not allowed, and acting as advisor consultant to an issue allowed, but for broking, underwriting and portfolio management services, if provided by CA in practice, guilty of professional misconduct, right, not as per the provisions of the Chartered Accountants Act. Then looking at his expertise in financial management, Mr. Tarak, a student of the Chartered Accountancy course, is very much impressed with his knowledge. He approached CAS to take guidance on some topics of financial management subject related to his course. Right, so now CA engaging in any other business or occupation, clause 11 part 1 first schedule, and engages in any other business or occupation other than the profession of chartered accountancy unless permitted by the council so to engage. Okay, right, so he approached S to take guidance on some topics of financial management subject related to his course. S on request decided to spare some time and started providing classes to Mr. Tarak along with some other aspirants for 3 days in a week for 1 hour in a day. Right, so 3 hours in a week, and 3 days in a week and for 1 hour in a day. Right, so 3 hours in a week. However, he has not taken any specific permission for such private tutorship from the council. Right? So that is regarding 1111. YS and Associates is appointed to conduct the statutory audit of XYZ Limited. XYZ Limited is required to appoint internal auditor as per the statutory provisions given in the Companies Act 2013 and appointed CAIA as its internal auditor. So good, no? IA internal auditor. YS and Associates asked Mr. IA to provide direct assistance to him regarding evaluating significant accounting estimates by the management and assessing the RMM. So now as per SA 610, can the statutory auditor take the direct assistance from the internal auditor? Yes. But here for what matters is he taking the direct assistance? For evaluating accounting estimates and for assessing the RMM. And these are areas which involve more than significant judgment, more than limited judgment. They involve significant judgment. So for these matters, that is why direct assistance not allowed to be taken. He also seeks his direct assistance in assembling the information necessary to resolve exceptions and confirmation responses with respect to external confirmation request and evaluation of the results of the external confirmation procedure. Right? So he also wants to take the assistance from the auditor from the internal auditor to resolve exception and confirmation responses. So 3 direct assistance he wants. The statutory auditor wants from internal auditor significant accounting estimates, assessing the RMM, and also information, assembling information necessary to resolve exceptions and confirmation responses. The debtor has confirmed 10,000. In the books it is shown as 12,000. So why the difference of 2,000? Why this difference is coming? And resolve exceptions and confirmation responses with respect to external confirmation request. XY. Right, so that is regarding SA 610, using the work of the internal auditors. And XYZ and Limited is seeking advice of YS and Associates. And YS and Associates is the CA firm which they introduced in the beginning of the case study, to appoint CAIA for conducting the GST audit. Now IA is the internal auditor. Can internal auditor conduct tax audit? No. On similar lines, can internal auditor conduct the GST audit? No, he also cannot conduct the GST audit. Right? So for internal auditor, can he do the tax audit? No. Can he do the GST audit for the same client? No. Right? So we've just, they've put some bits and parts together and they have made an integrated case study over here. So be it. Right? Now let us look into the corresponding question. Yes, all of you paying attention? Fine. YS and Associates sought direct assistance from CAA internal auditor as stated in the above scenario. The second last scenario. Advice as to whether he is permitted to do so in accordance with the relevant standards on auditing. So are you allowed to take the direct assistance, statutory auditor from the internal auditor? Now for what matters this fellow is wanting to take the direct assistance? For significant accounting estimates, for assessing the RMM, and for assembling information necessary to resolve the exceptions in the confirmation responses. Right? For matter 1 and 2, it is specifically told in SA 610 okay, for these 2 matters you cannot take the direct assistance from the internal auditor. Why you cannot take direct assistance from the internal auditor for these 2 matters? Because these are matters which require the significant judgment or where there is more than limited judgment involved. Right? No taking direct assistance. And 2 examples given over there are evaluating accounting estimates and also assessing the RMM. What are the other points they say over there? The sufficiency of the test, the appropriateness of going concern, evaluating the adequacy of disclosures. It says these 5 matters, they are considered to be areas of significant judgment. So no direct assistance should be taken from the internal auditor. Right. So for first 2 matters, no taking direct assistance, but for the third matter, yes, we can tell the internal auditor to help us with that work. Let us see the option. YS and Associates cannot ask CAIA for direct assistance regarding significant accounting estimates and assessing the RMM. However, IA may assist YS and YS and Associates in assembling information necessary to resolve exceptions and confirmation responses as per SA 610. So what they are saying over here, first two, no. But third one, yes, you can take the direct assistance. Seems okay, but let us check the other three first. IA cannot assist YS and Associates in assembling information necessary to resolve exception and confirmation responses. However, YS and Associates can ask Mr. IA for direct assistance regarding evaluating accounting estimates and assessing the RMM. तो A का पूरा उल्टा कर दिया B में, है ना? They are talking exactly the reverse in B. Okay, you can, for assembling information, no assistance, but for assessing RMM and evaluating accounting estimate, you can take the direct assistance. So this is absolutely wrong advice. Right, YS and Associates cannot ask CAIA for direct assistance regarding accounting estimates, RMM, and in assembling the information. So it says for all three, you cannot ask for direct assistance, do your work on your own. Okay, YS and Associates can ask CAIA for direct assistance regarding accounting estimates and assessing the RMM and in assembling the information. So now they are saying for all three you can ask. In C option they said you cannot ask for any of the three. In D option they are saying you can ask for all the three. Right, and B is the reverse of A, right? So what is the correct option over here? A is the correct option. They cannot ask direct assistance regarding accounting estimates and RMM. However, they can ask for direct assistance regarding assembling information necessary to resolve the exceptions in the confirmation responses. Right, nowadays 610 direct assistance is a new concept over there. So lot of questions expected in your exams, and we've also seen a lot of questions in the RTP in relation to the same. Right, so my advice to you would be that 610 ka part which is regarding the direct assistance, please study it well. And you should know what are the matters to be considered while determining whether you should take direct assistance. Then from which matters no direct assistance can be taken. And then also significant judgment. What are those areas where there is significant judgment where again you should not be taking the direct assistance. Yes, all of you with me? Easy questions. Okay, coming to question number 2. Whether CAS is guilty of professional misconduct in providing private tutorship to Mr. Tarak along with some other aspirants for 3 days in a week and for 1 hour in a day in the absence of specific approval. So anyways, we know that private tutorship comes under the list of the permission granted generally. And no specific permission of ICAI is required for the private tutorship. But for some other teaching, like teaching in any other educational institution, any other coaching organization other than ICAI, then specific permission is required. Right? But if you're teaching under the auspices of the institute, you're doing private tutorship, for those general permission has been given. Right, so for some teaching, general permission has been given. For some teaching, specific prior approval of ICAI is to be obtained in each case. But this general and specific permission taken together in relation to teaching for a practicing CA, the teaching hours, the direct teaching hours should not exceed 25 hours a week. And that is what we study under clause 11. And under regulation 190A, right, that the direct teaching hours should not exceed, right, that the direct teaching hours should not exceed 25 hours a week. Right, so let's see the option. Right, so S is not guilty of professional misconduct as he is teaching within the prescribed hours, that is not exceeding 25 hours a month. It is not a month over there. It is 25 hours a week. Next one, S is not guilty of professional misconduct as he is teaching within the prescribed hours of, that is not exceeding 25 hours a month, again out, right? This is not the correct option. S is guilty of professional misconduct as he is not obtained specific permission for the same. No specific permission is required because it is private tutorship, so out. So obviously D has to be the answer, but then sometimes if you find कि D भी गलत है, तो फिर A, B, C में एक को किसी को फिर से select करना पड़ता है ना? Sometimes in confidence or in our analysis we say A, no, B, no, C, no. When you say D also no, then there is a crisis because there is no E and F and G and H after that. Stock is over. Okay, so A, B, C, no, till then it is okay. But if D is also no, then it will be a problem. Okay, so S is not guilty of professional misconduct as he is teaching within the prescribed hours, that is not exceeding 25 hours a week as per regulation 190A. Super. And D is the correct option. 25 hours a week, the direct teaching hours, and should not exceed 25 hours a week, the general specific both put together for a practicing CA. Yes, next one. Before signing the tax audit report, why sent a registered post to the previous auditor and obtain the postal acknowledgement? Right, so before signing the report, he did send a registered post and obtained a postal acknowledgement. Will CAY be guilty of professional misconduct under the Chartered Accountants Act 1949? Right, as per clause 8 of part 1 of first schedule to the Chartered Accountants Act 1949, why will not be held guilty of professional misconduct as he communicated with the previous tax auditor before signing the tax audit report? No, not before signing the tax audit report. The NOC, the request for NOC is required to be sent before accepting the audit, not before signing the report. Okay. Right, as per clause 8 part 1 first schedule to the Chartered Accountants Act, why will not be held guilty of professional misconduct since the requirement for communicating with previous auditor being a CA in practice would apply only to statutory audit. Would apply to statutory audit only. No, it applies to all audit where the previous auditor is CA, and if previous auditor is non-CA, then we say it's a healthy practice to communicate. But if previous auditor is CA, then NOC is mandatory. Right? We also say, what if the previous auditor is aware of the appointment? We say still the requirement of clause 8 is absolute. Incoming auditor should communicate with the outgoing auditor, right? So required only for statutory audit, not required for tax audit? No. As per clause 8 part 1 first schedule to the Chartered Accountants Act, why will be held guilty of professional misconduct since he accepted the tax audit without first communicating with the previous auditor in writing? So seems to be okay, but let us see the last one. The D option. As per clause 8 part 1 second schedule. Out. Right, is it clause 8 part 1 second schedule? No, it is 811 clause 8 part 1 first schedule. Do you know what is 812 clause 8 part 1 second schedule? Do you remember that one? Clause 8 part 1 second schedule fails to obtain sufficient information which is necessary for expression of opinion, or its exceptions are sufficiently material to negate the expression of an opinion, right? So that's 812. Right now we are talking about 811. Okay, coming to question number 4. In view of YS and Associates, whether CAIA is eligible to undertake GST audit of XYZ simultaneously, because IA is already doing the internal audit. So can he undertake the GST audit? No. Internal auditor, tax audit, GST audit, both no for you. And an internal auditor cannot undertake GST audit as well as the tax audit. Right? CAIA is internal auditor and therefore is eligible to undertake GST audit of XYZ simultaneously. Out. IA is internal auditor and therefore not eligible to undertake GST audit of XYZ is limited simultaneously. Seems to be okay. And being internal auditor, CAIA is appropriate person to carry out GST audit of XYZ limited. No, you don't get carried away. हम बोले कि इससे अच्छा person तो मिलेगा ही नहीं. He is perfect. And he's your internal auditor, so he's the perfect fellow for you to do the GST audit. No, and none of the above. Why none of the above, right? Which option do we find it right over here? The B option. IA is the internal auditor of XYZ Limited and therefore not eligible to undertake the GST audit of XYZ Limited simultaneously. Okay, and now coming to the fifth one over there. Whether website designed for XYZ is www.ysassociates.com is in compliance with the guidelines given in clause 6 part 1 of first schedule to the Chartered Accountants Act, right? So yes, website can have names of partners and major clients along with its fee, right? So whether it is in compliance with the guideline. Yes, so website can have names of partners and major clients along with its fees. right? So along with its fees, but there is a condition over there. Okay, what is the condition over there? Subject to the is if required by any regulator, whether in or outside India, and subject to the disclosure requirement as per the regulator. Yes, the website can be designed on a push technology. Right? Can it be designed on a push technology? Okay, all of a sudden you happen to go there. No, it has to be run on the, right, which mode it is required to be run on? The push mode? No, on the pull mode. Okay, yes, as there is no restriction on the colors used on the website, right? So this is fine, there are no restrictions on the colors used on the website. No, as names of the partners of the firm and the major clients were displayed without any disclosure obligation from any regulator. This seems to be the sensible one. And okay, what? Yes, the names of the partners and the major clients were displayed without any disclosure obligation from any regulator. So without any disclosure obligation, there was no need for you to give the names of the major client. Partners of the firm, theek hai, but names of clients and their fees charged, and that is not allowed to be given unless there is any disclosure requirement from any regulator, right? So that is why D is the correct option. Okay, right, coming to integrated case scenario 2. Right, so we've completed the integrated case scenario 1. Now coming to the next story over there. ANS and Associates have been appointed as statutory auditor of Delco Limited, listed company referred to as company for financial year 1920. Delco Limited deals in the manufacturing of shoes. During the course of the audit, the auditor found that the company has acquired two subsidiaries, namely Sole Limited, dealing in the manufacturing of shoe soles, and Soccer Limited, dealing in the manufacturing of kid shoes. The auditor of Sole Limited and Soccer Limited are XYZ and Associates, right? So subsidiaries are being audited by XYZ and Associates, right? And what is the main is, who are the auditors of Delco Limited listed company? ANS and Associates. Okay. Delco Limited has prepared the consolidated financial statements under the Indian accounting standards and consolidated the financial statements of subsidiary Sole Limited during the current financial year. So Sole Limited, they have consolidated. However, the company has not consolidated the financial statements of Soccer Limited, which was also acquired during the financial year, as the company has not been able to ascertain the fair value of certain material and assets and liabilities of Soccer Limited as on the acquisition date. So they say because we don't have the fair value of certain assets and liabilities, that is why not consolidated. This acquisition was accounted for as an investment in the books of Delco Limited. Had the company consolidated the financial statements of both the subsidiaries, there would have been a material impact on the important elements of the financial statements. So they acquired two subsidiaries, one they consolidated, one they did not consolidate. At the time of finalization of the audit report of the company for 2020, the auditors are considering their reporting responsibility for non-consolidation of the financial statements of Soccer Limited. Okay. The auditors also asked the management to disclose their reason for non-consolidation of financial of Soccer Limited in the notes to account. Also, the financial statements of Delco Limited, the listed company, of the current financial year, including the corresponding figures without consolidation of the previous financial year 18-19, right? So corresponding figures of previous year have been given. Further, the auditors are also considering the implication on their responsibility and the management's responsibility with respect to the financial statements and in the audit of such financial statements. So like in audit report, we have these two paragraphs, no, management's responsibility, auditor's responsibility, right? So they are saying the auditors are considering the implication, right? So that's the story. Now let's come to the questions. Okay, right, all of you listening to me? Yes, very busy studying these days, very tense type of situation. And you study, but there's some nervousness, some anxiety, some fear which keeps on coming in. It's normal, right? I always keep on telling in all my classes, right? Just bear the heat right now, you know, just it's the pressure which is building up right now for the preparation of the exam. So it's absolutely fine. Okay, but continue with the hard work, right? The dedication, perseverance towards study. There should not be even an inch or even a millimeter of compromise over there. And that hard work and dedication continues to be, right? It has to continue as it is, or it can rather improve, but it cannot deteriorate or decline at any point now. Okay. With respect to the non-consolidation of financial statement of Soccer Limited with the financial statements of Delco Limited, how should the auditor deal with the same in their audit report? So that one subsidiary, Soccer Limited, they did not consolidate. Auditor should give disclaimer of opinion. And we are not in opposition and we do not express an opinion on financial statements. Disclaimer. Kyun bhai? Disclaimer kyun? And is it that you are unable to obtain evidence? No, you have obtained evidence that this subsidiary has not been consolidated. Okay, right? The auditor should give an adverse opinion if the impact is material and pervasive in his audit report. Right? So give adverse if it is material and pervasive. Let us look at the other two. The auditor should mention this fact in the emphasis of matter paragraph pervasive in his audit report. What drafting error they do? ये क्या होता है? Emphasis of matter paragraph pervasive in his audit report. Does it make any sense? Have you? See, we study material but not pervasive, material and pervasive in case of a modified opinion, na? Okay, whether to issue qualified adverse or qualified disclaimer. There we talk about material but not pervasive and material and pervasive. But emphasis of matter paragraph ke वहाँ there is nothing called as pervasive. And so you should mention the fact in emphasis of matter paragraph. Okay. Then auditor should mention this fact in other matter paragraph pervasive in his audit report. I don't know. It looks like a drafting error. Why they've inserted the word pervasive over there? And so emphasis of matter pervasive? No, no. Other matter paragraph pervasive? No, no. Auditor should give disclaimer? No. Auditor should give adverse opinion if the impact is material and pervasive. That means what? If it is material but not pervasive, auditor will give a qualified opinion. But if it is material and pervasive, if the impact is material and pervasive in his audit report, the auditor should give an adverse opinion. Right? Is that okay? Right, so B is the correct option. Next one, what are the auditor's reporting responsibility with respect to the corresponding figures of financial year 18-19 in the current year financial statements for the same? Right, so current year we are doing audit for 2019-20 and previous year is 18-19. So what are the auditor's reporting responsibility with respect to corresponding figure? So now the matter has boiled down to SE 710 and a comparative information, corresponding figures and comparative financial statements, right? So there we have the audit reporting for comparative information, right? And now they are talking about corresponding figures, right? So auditor's opinion is only for the current period, right? So the auditor's opinion should refer to each period for which the financial statements are presented. No, that happens in case of comparative financial statements, not in case of corresponding figures. In case of corresponding figures, the auditor's opinion is only for the current period. Then the auditors need to report on the current year financials only, be it comparative or corresponding. No, it is not comparative and corresponding same. For corresponding figure, we report only on the current year. For comparative financial statements, our opinion is for all the periods. The auditor's opinion is for all the periods. So the auditor needs to report on current year only, even be it comparative or corresponding. It is not so. The auditor's opinion shall not refer to corresponding figure except if the previous period audit report is other than unqualified opinion or the auditor has sufficient evidence that a material misstatement exists in the financial statements of prior period which was not addressed earlier. Right? So prior period there was a misstatement. Was it reported last year? No, which was not addressed earlier. So other than unqualified opinion. Right, so last year there was a misstatement. Was it reported last year? Yes. Then we check whether the matter is resolved, not resolved. If resolved, no reporting required. Not resolved, modify current report. That case study keeps on coming in the exam. And those of you who've not yet studied 710, not yet revised or not done any classes or not seen any case studies, for them though what I'm speaking right now will be all administrative, marketing and all factory overhead type. And they won't understand anything of what I'm speaking right now. Because now I'm not discussing, I'm not understanding or explaining the concept. I'm directly applying the concepts which we've discussed in these standards. Okay, right. So that is one case study which comes in the exam. No, okay, prior period there was a misstatement. Was the matter reported? Yes. Then this year what you need to check whether the matter has been resolved or matter is not resolved. If matter resolved, no reporting required. Matter not resolved, modify current report. That is one. And a company last year there was a provision for bad and doubtful debts. This year is it required to be reported? You need to check whether it is provision has been made or provision is not yet made. That is one. Now, second one, prior period there was a misstatement and it was not reported. Right? So last year you had to issue a modified opinion, but you issued an unmodified opinion, those types. Right? And now what you need to do? You need to modify the current opinion with respect to corresponding figure. Right? And here also what does it say? Last year you issued other than unmodified opinion. Right? And or the auditor is obtained that there was a misstatement in the prior period which was not addressed earlier. Okay, an auditor has no reporting responsibility for the financial statement of any year other than the current financial year for which they have been appointed. It says auditor has nothing to do, no reporting responsibility of any year other than the current financial year for which they have been appointed. No, 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 no. He does have the responsibility for previous year also. Right? So should refer to each period? No. Auditor responsibility is only for current year, whether it is comparative or corresponding? No. Right? So C is the correct option. Right, C is the correct option. The auditor's opinion generally shall not refer to the corresponding figure except where the previous period audit report is modified other than unqualified opinion, or the auditor has sufficient evidence that a material misstatement exists in the financial statements of the prior period which was not addressed earlier. Okay, coming to question number 8. What is the reporting responsibility of the auditor in case the prior period financial statements are not audited? Right, so there is always a possibility that prior period financial statements are not audited. What we need to do in our audit report in the other matter paragraph, we need to write that the prior period figures are unaudited. In the audit report in the other matter paragraph. Okay, the auditor needs to report such matter in key audit matter paragraph in his report? No, I just told you it has to come under other matter paragraph, not under key audit matter. The auditor need to report such matter in the other matter paragraph in his report. Wonderful. The auditor will be responsible for obtaining sufficient appropriate audit evidence that the opening balance to say so do not contain any material misstatement. So now they are talking about SA 510, initial audit engagements, opening balances, in which you have to perform audit procedures to obtain evidence regarding the opening balances, and in which you check whether there is any misstatement in the opening balances. That opening balance do not contain any material misstatement. Right, so one, we will write it in the other matter paragraph, and we will also obtain evidence for the opening balances. So both B and C. Right, we will mention about it that prior period figures are unaudited in the other matter paragraph, and we will also obtain sufficient appropriate audit evidence regarding these opening balances, right, that they do not contain any material misstatement. That is why both B and C. So D is the correct option. Next one, preparation of financial statements in accordance with the AFRF is the responsibility of the management of Delco Limited. Absolutely. Preparation of financial statements in accordance with AFRF, whose responsibility? Management's responsibility. Which of the following is correct in regard to the disclosure of such management responsibility? Right, so which of the following is correct in relation to the disclosure of such management responsibility? This is implied responsibility of management and is presumed in an audit of financial statement and therefore need not be specifically mentioned anywhere. तो बोलिए सबको पता है, कहीं लिखने की जरूरत नहीं है. Everybody knows this, no need to write it anywhere. Okay, the management may undertake to accept such responsibility through engagement letter itself. So it says put it in the engagement letter itself. The audit report, the auditor report should describe the management's responsibility in a section with the heading responsibility of management for financial statements, right? So yes, in our audit report, we have the management's responsibility paragraph, and the auditor's report should refer to the responsibilities of the auditor and not that of the management, as the same is obvious. It's like a great art, to create the wrong option. Okay, it is implied, it is obvious. Look at the type of words they are using now. It is implied management responsibility. It is obvious. तुम अपनी responsibility लिखो, तुम्हें management की क्यों लिखनी है ना? The auditor should refer to the responsibilities of the auditor and not that of the management, as the same is obvious. It says just put it in the engagement letter. No, you should put it in the audit report, right? The auditor report should describe the management's responsibility in a section with the heading responsibility of management for the financial statements. Okay. Next one. If the auditors of Delco Limited decides to give a qualified or an adverse opinion in the current financial year with respect to non-consolidation of financial statements of Soccer Limited. So rather, this line over here helps you to get the answer for the 6th MCQ. If the auditor of Delco decides to give qualified or adverse, if it is material but not pervasive, qualified, material and pervasive, adverse in the current financial year with respect to non-consolidation of financial statements of Soccer Limited. So here it asks, due to the non-consolidation of Soccer, what type of report should be issued? We can say, so no disclaimer, no emphasis of matter pervasive, no other matter pervasive. It is adverse opinion if it is material and pervasive. So in the 10th one, the answer of the 6th one is actually mentioned over there. Okay, if you are alert and if you maintain an attitude of professional skepticism. Okay, which of the following is true with regard to the use of emphasis of matter paragraph for some other matter? So complicated, emphasis of matter paragraph for some other matter. So this is not the other matter. This is other matter relating to emphasis of matter. Okay, let's see the option. Auditor cannot add emphasis of matter paragraph in his report on any matter as the qualified or adverse opinion is given by the auditor. He says, एक बार qualified या adverse दे दिया तो फिर emphasis नहीं डाल सकते हैं. It's not like that. In my report, there can be key audit matter, emphasis of matter, other matter, plus there could be a modification to the opinion. So this is not right. Are you getting? Emphasis of matter paragraph on a matter can be added if the auditor's opinion is neither qualified nor adverse in respect of that particular matter, and the matter is fundamental to the user's understanding of the financial statement. This is the key word to decide whether a matter should come under emphasis of matter paragraph. Okay, whether that matter is fundamental to the user's understanding. But let's see the other options. Emphasis of matter paragraph on any matter can be added in the audit report even if the audit report is qualified adverse with respect to that particular matter, right? Even though if the auditor's report is qualified adverse with respect to that particular matter. An emphasis of matter paragraph indicates that the auditor's opinion is modified in respect to the matter being emphasized. Rather, it is the other way around. Emphasis of matter paragraph indicates that the auditor's opinion is not modified in respect of the matter being emphasized. So this is so absolutely wrong. Okay, now emphasis of matter paragraph can be added even if auditor's opinion is neither qualified or adverse, yani ke unmodified, but there is a matter that is fundamental to the user's understanding, and can be added if the report is qualified adverse with respect to that matter. No, then you can't put it in emphasis of matter. Then it has to come under modification only, right? So if it is fundamental to user's understanding, then it can come under the emphasis of matter paragraph. है ना, बहुत बार तो ऐसी सिचुएशन होती है, आई एम नॉट मिसगाइडिंग यू, आई एम जस्ट गिविंग यू अ ग्लिम्स ऑफ रियलिटी ओवर हियर, दैट इफ यू डोंट रीड दिस क्वेश्चन, है ना, ये 10th क्वेश्चन के जो 3 लाइंस है, इफ यू डोंट रीड बट डोंट अप्लाई दैट, आई एम सेइंग यू कैन जस्ट रीड इट क्विकली टाइप्स, और इफ यू डोंट रीड द एंटायर केस स्टडी आल्सो, ओके, व्हाट एंटायर is history, geography of the case study, and if you just read the 4 options logically also, you will be able to find out, obviously only if your concepts are clear, if you know the audit procedure, you know the standards regarding which should be the correct option, right? So I always tell the students that you should read the case study, but not that go into an in-depth analysis and read and read and read and reread till the time you don't get it completely. Not required. Get an overview, do the first reading, come to the question, and now whatever related to the question you think that I need to refer to the case study, that much part you read it again. Otherwise no need to go into an in-depth analysis as such, and it might lead to wastage of time. Okay, right. And now coming to independent MCQ. So they say audit report independent. So why MCQ not independent? So let it be, not general MCQ or not, not based on case study MCQ. These are independent MCQ. Okay, boss is always right. NIC Chartered Accountants was appointed as statutory auditor by PNG Limited for audit of their financial statement, right? So NIC appointed to do the audit of PNG. During the course of the audit, the auditor noticed a fraud of 101 lakh, that is 1 crore or above, right, is committed by an officer of the company. So 143.12, duty to report the fraud to CG, 1 crore or above. Okay, the officer sanctioned and made the payment to fake vendors for purchase of fixed assets. However, the assets were not entered in the fixed assets register. The auditor reported the fraud in his audit report to the shareholders of the company presented in the AGM, but did not mention the name of the parties involved. Right, so name of parties involved. The auditor reported the fraud in his audit report to the shareholders presented in the AGM, but did not mention the name of the parties involved. The board of directors of the company asked ICAI to take necessary action against the auditor as he did not comply with his duty to report fraud as per section 143.12. What is the duty of the auditor as per the Companies Act 2013 in reporting the fraud committed by officers, employees of the company? Right, so here the fraud is 1 crore or above. Okay, as per the Companies Act 2013, since the amount of fraud is more than 100 lakh, the auditor should have reported the matter within 2 days of his knowledge to the Board of Directors Audit Committee of the company, seeking their reply or observation within 45 days. After completion of 45 days, the auditor should forward his report to the central government along with the reply, if any, received from Board Audit Committee. Seems okay, na? Within 2 days, and then wait for their observation for 45 days, and after that you report it to the CG. Okay, as per the Companies Act, during the course of audit, if the auditor has reasons to believe that an offence has been committed by the officer or employees of the company, the auditor shall report the matter to the central government immediately. So earlier it used to say immediately. Now what does it say? Immediately, but not later than 2 days. And that but not later than 2 days is also added over there. Right, the auditor's duty is restricted to reporting the fraud to shareholders, and he is not required to report the matter to board and audit committee and central government. We are not required. He says directly only to shareholders. Okay, the auditor can submit his report on fraud to shareholders, but is required to mention the name of the parties involved in the fraud as per section 143.12. Right, so now report to shareholders as per 143.12. No, as per 143.12 you have to report it to the CG. Yes, you have to report it to the CG, and these procedures, 2 days, 45 days and after 45 days seems appropriate, right? So A is the correct option, right? And then we have the 12th one, right? The last one over there, right? So those of you who have been watching the class so far, thumbs up to you. And you are on the right track, not just because you've seen this class, not that way. It shows the perseverance and the discipline which you have, that once I start seeing a particular class, I ensure that I do it till the end. Not that you're just like surfing, going from one video to another or something like that. It shows the the stability in your preparation for the exam. Okay, right? So 12th one, before concluding the audit, there was a difference of opinion between the audit committee and the auditor as to which among the following are the areas which the auditor should take into account to determine key audit matters as per 701. And so this is one question which comes in the theory part of the paper also. Okay, factors to be considered while determining key audit matters. So how do you determine that whether a particular matter is a key audit matter? One, we say higher assessed RMM or significant risk. Right. Second, we say significant auditor judgment involved in evaluating that matter, including evaluation of management judgment. Right. And the effect on the audit of any significant event or transaction that has taken place during the period. Right, so determining key audit matters. How do you determine, okay, boss, this is a matter of most significance in the audit of the financial statements of the current period? How do you determine that? Right, so it says there was a difference of opinion between audit committee and auditor as to which of the following are the area which the auditor should take into account to determine key audit matter as per 701. Okay, the effect on the audit of any significant transaction that took place in the financial year, that is the point number 3 which I have written over here, event or transaction. See these blue color points I have written over here. Right, so effect on audit of any significant transaction, some IPO, some capitalization of plant, some amalgamation, and a significant transaction. Yes. Okay, areas of high risk as assessed. So here what we say, areas of higher assessed RMM, risk of material misstatement, and what have I written over here, risk of material misstatement, or yes, what have I written over here, SR. What is SR? Significant risk. What is SR? Significant risk. Now here what they did, drafting error. If you read only this much and you say, "Arey haan, area of higher assessed RMM," that point is there, डूब जाओगे, and you'll fall into with a well. Why? Because and reported by management's expert. काय संबंध? Means what is the link over here? Why management's expert has come over here? How it has found its place over here? Not relevant, yaar. Area of high risk as assessed or significant risk and a significant risk. अगर वो लिखते तो ठीक है, ये मैनेजमेंट एक्सपर्ट को कहाँ लेके आ गए यहाँ पे, है ना, ऐसा ही करते हैं वो, है ना। और आप लोग क्या स्टूडेंट्स के साथ कैसे होता है, एरियाज ऑफ हाई रिस्क एज असेस्ड, यस यस दैट पॉइंट इज देयर। अरे रीड फुल सेंटेंस, है ना, or you should read the entire sentence over there. Significant auditor judgment relating to areas in the financial statements that involve significant management judgment. Right, so significant auditor judgment. So that point is also there in the entirety. But वो 2 का क्या हो गया ना, प्लस था फिर माइनस था, तो प्लस माइनस has become minus, है ना। एरियाज ऑफ हायर असेस्ड आरएमएम एंड सिग्निफिकेंट रिस्क अगर होता ना तो बढ़िया होता, है ना, then एकदम सरस, है ना, then it would have been proper. But now what has happened, area of high risk is assessed and reported by management expert. I'm so wondering where it has come from. Okay, as per SE 701, communicating key audit matters in the independent audit report, which among the above mentioned areas should CA and company take into account to determine key audit matters. So it says 1 and 3. 1 and 3, okay, right. 2 only means it says only area of high risk is assessed and reported by management expert, right. Then it says 1 and 2, effect on audit and area of higher risk is assessed and reported by management expert, and all of the above 1, 2, 3. बट अपना प्रॉब्लम क्या है कि मैनेजमेंट एक्सपर्ट, और जहां पे भी मैनेजमेंट एक्सपर्ट, दैट पॉइंट नंबर 2 विल कम, दोज आर नॉट द ऑप्शन. सो बी ऑल्सो हैज 2, सी ऑल्सो हैज 2 एंड डी ऑल्सो हैज 2. सो नो बी सी डी फॉर अस. सो फॉर अस इट इज गोइंग टू बी ए 1 and 3. Right, 1 and 3. Right, so effect on the audit of significant transactions that took place, we would have taken 2 अगर यहाँ पे ये management expert ना होके significant risk हुआ होता तो, right. And significant auditor judgment relating to areas in the financials that involve significant management judgment, right. So it's always wonderful to go through the MCQ, because see, randomly you do little bit of practice of ethics also, little bit regarding audit report also, standards also, like 710, 510, emphasis of matter, other matter, right. Then also regarding this key audit matter, then 14312, duty to report the fraud to CG, right. So thank you so much for attending this particular class, and I wish you all the very best for your exams, right. Study well and have a great day.